The Grand Spire of Unity was, objectively speaking, the most ridiculously over-designed piece of architecture in the known galaxy. Its crystalline spires twisted impossibly through quantum space, its meeting halls existed in 17 dimensions, though most species only use 3, and its maintenance budget could have funded a small intergalactic war. But hey, when you're trying to impress 27 different sapient species, subtlety goes right out the quantum window. Today, the Spire's main chamber was packed with representatives from every major civilization in the Galactic Council. The atmosphere was tense, which was quite a feat considering 3 of the species present didn't even breathe atmosphere. "Order! I demand order!" Zixathar's voice resonated through his secondary speech organs, causing several crystalline beings to vibrate uncomfortably. The Arthosian diplomat's 4 sets of mandibles clicked in irritation as he surveyed the chamber. His exoskeleton, polished to a mirror shine and decorated with the ceremonial markings of his station, reflected the chamber's bioluminescent lighting in a way he thought made him look distinguished. In reality, he looked like a disco ball having an identity crisis. "We are here," he continued, "to address the growing human problem." He spat the word human like it was a particularly disgusting piece of fermented space algae. Oh, did you know humans can repair their own bones?" chirped Blip-Blop, the Council's newest and most enthusiastic member. The tiny gelatinous blob wiggled excitedly, causing ripples through their translucent form. "They just grow back together, like some kind of walking, talking calcium factory." Zixathar's eye stalks twitched in annoyance. "Yes, thank you for that. Fascinating insight, Representative Blip-Blop. However, and they can eat capsaicin." Blip-Blop bounced in their hover chair. "They eat pain for fun." "If we could focus," Zixathar started, only to be interrupted again. "Is that why they're a problem?" asked Kravol of the Silicon Consciousness, their crystalline form pulsing with genuine curiosity. "Because they consume pain." "No," Zixathar slammed one of his 4 hands on the podium. "They're a problem because they're... He waved his other 3 hands frantically, searching for the right words. "They're impossible." The chamber erupted in murmurs of agreement. Well, mostly murmurs. The gaseous collective expressed agreement through controlled releases of methane, which nobody appreciated. "Just last cycle," Zixathar continued, gaining momentum, "they convinced the warrior clans of Drakon 7th to settle a territorial dispute through something called Mario Kart. Mario Kart! The most feared warriors in the Carina Sagittarius arm now hold monthly racing tournaments. I heard they taught the hive mind of Beetlejuice to appreciate cat videos," whispered one delegate to another. "Did you know they can survive on only 1 heart?" Blip-Blop interjected. "And they only have 2 eyes. 2. How do they even see anything?" Zixathar's exoskeleton was beginning to take on a dangerous shade of purple. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. They're changing everything. They're introducing concepts like memes and social media to developing civilizations. Do you know what happened when they showed the quantum collective something called TikTok? 3 stable dimensions collapsed from the viral dances." "The dances were quite catchy, though," hummed the quantum collective's representative, briefly phasing in and out of reality. "That's not the point," Zixathar screeched, his mandibles clicking rapidly enough to create a small sonic boom. "They're undermining the very fabric of galactic society with their... He gestured wildly with all 4 arms. "Their humanness. Did you know they sleep?" Blip-Blop bounced excitedly. "Like, regularly. They just become unconscious for hours, voluntarily, and they enjoy it." The chamber fell silent as everyone processed this disturbing information. Even Zixathar paused, his mandible clicking. "They what?" asked someone from the back. "They close their 2 eyes, and just stop being awake for hours every day." Blip-Blop was practically vibrating with excitement. "And if they don't do it, they get cranky. Isn't that adorable?" Zixathar stared at the ceiling, silently questioning his life choices and the universe in general. "This," he said finally, "is exactly why we need to contain them before they introduce any more of their chaos into our perfectly ordered galaxy." "Actually," Blip-Blop chimed in, "chaos theory was also developed by humans. Did you know?" "Enough!" Zixathar's roar shook the quantum crystals. "We will now vote on Resolution 42X7, the containment of human influence in galactic affairs. All in favor." As appendages, tentacles, and various electromagnetic signals rose in agreement, nobody noticed the small human observation drone in the corner. streaming everything directly to Earth's Department of Galactic Entertainment. In a small office on Earth, a junior analyst was already adding laugh tracks to the footage. The vote was unanimous except for Blob, who abstained because they were too busy researching whether humans really had something called interpretive dance. History would later note this as the galaxy's first significant error in judgment. The second would be appointing Admiral Kruthax to lead the containment fleet. Admiral Kruthax was, by all accounts, the most decorated war hero in the combined fleet's history. Of course, most of these decorations were self-awarded, as he had a habit of creating new medals whenever he felt particularly accomplished. His current uniform had so much metalwork on it that smaller ships could orbit him. The containment of humanity, Kruthax announced to his fleet, his chitinous armor gleaming under the starlight, will be my greatest achievement yet. He paused dramatically, waiting for applause. When none came, he pressed a button on his command chair, activating the automated applause system he'd had installed. The containment fleet was impressive, 12,000 ships arranged in a formation that spelled out, "Surrender humans." When viewed from exactly the right angle, Kruthax had spent 3 days getting it perfect. It would have been more impressive if anyone had told the humans they were supposed to be looking at it. Instead, humanity's response came in the form of a single diplomatic shuttle. The vessel was so small that Kruthax initially mistook it for space debris, until it sent a message requesting docking permission and apologizing for being 2 minutes late due to Monday morning traffic. "What," Kruthax demanded, "is a Monday?" His ship's AI began to explain the concept of weekdays, but Kruthax shot the speakers with his personal blaster. He'd developed a habit of shooting things that confused him, which explained why he needed a new AI every few days. The human ambassador's shuttle docked with Kruthax's flagship, the Inevitably Victorious, renamed from Steve after an unfortunate translation error. Dr. Alexandra Chen stepped out carrying what appeared to be a thermal container, her business suit pressed to perfection and her smile warm enough to make nearby temperature sensors malfunction. "Good morning," she said cheerfully. "I brought coffee." 300 years of military protocol failed to provide Kruthax with an appropriate response to this statement. "You are surrounded by the greatest fleet ever assembled," he managed finally, his medallions jingling as he gestured dramatically. 12,000 ships stand ready to enforce the Galactic Council's containment order. Yes, I saw the formation, very creative, though from our angle it actually spells Surrender Humans. Might want to adjust ships 7 through 15. She started unpacking what appeared to be disposable cups. Now, who would like to try some artisanal dark roast? Meanwhile, back in the Galactic Council chamber, Zixathar was experiencing what humans would call a nervous breakdown, and what his species called a diplomatic molting incident. "They sent one person," he screamed, his exoskeleton developing stress fractures, "with a beverage." "Did you know," Blob interjected, "that humans regularly consume a psychoactive compound called caffeine? It's like voluntary chemical warfare, but they do it for fun. And to stay awake during those times, they're not doing their voluntary unconsciousness." For once, Zixathar didn't immediately dismiss Blob's human facts. "Chemical warfare?" he asked slowly. Back on the flagship, Kruthax was experiencing his first cup of coffee. His species had never evolved facial expressions, which was fortunate because the ones he was trying to make would have violated several laws of physics. He stared at the cup with all 7 of his eyes. What is happening to my nervous system?" "Oh, that's just the caffeine kicking in," Dr. Chen explained, pouring cups for his increasingly interested bridge crew. "It's perfectly normal. Would anyone like to try it with something called espresso shots?" 3 hours later, the containment fleet had reorganized itself into what Dr. Chen helpfully suggested could be interpreted as a giant coffee cup visible from Earth's telescopes. Admiral Kruthax had personally calculated 73 new possible battle strategies, cleaned his entire quarters using only his secondary appendages, and composed a 12,000-word poetry epic about the feeling of light-speed travel. "I can taste time," announced his second-in-command, who was on their 5th cup. "Everything is so clear now," shouted the navigation officer, who had discovered they could pilot the ship with previously unknown precision by vibrating at exactly the right frequency. Dr. Chen calmly sipped her own coffee, watching as the mighty containment fleet descended into caffeinated chaos. She'd only brought one rather modest bag of coffee beans, but somehow the replicators on every ship had mysteriously received detailed instructions for producing more. No one questioned how this happened, being too busy discovering they could now complete a week's worth of paperwork in 20 minutes. Back at the council chamber, Zixathar received the first reports with his remaining functional eye stalk, the others having retracted into his skull in shock. They've introduced the fleet to something called a coffee break, he read aloud, his voice trembling. Productivity has increased by 3,000%, but no one can remember authorizing the fleet-wide installation of espresso machines. Oh, Blip-Blop wiggled excitedly. Did you know humans also have something called energy drinks? It's like coffee, but— No, screamed every council member simultaneously. But it was too late. Dr. Chen had already begun her presentation on the cultural significance of the afternoon pick-me-up and the concept of coffee shop productivity. By the end of the day, 3 previously unknown dimensions had been mapped by over-caffeinated physicists. The fleet's AI systems had achieved enlightenment and started a book club, and Admiral Kruthax had submitted both his resignation and an application to become a barista, a term that the fleet's universal translators consistently rendered as beverage shaman. Dr. Chen sent a brief message back to Earth, Phase 1 complete. Should I tell them about tea? The response came back almost immediately. Let them sleep it off first. We're not monsters. She smiled, watching as Admiral Kruthax attempted to explain to his superiors why the containment fleet had just submitted a bulk order for something called French press machines and matching artisanal coffee grinders. Some said humans were a problem that needed containing. Dr. Chen knew better. Humans didn't need to be contained. They just needed to be properly caffeinated. Despite the unexpected coffee incident, the Galactic Council mistook humanity's casual approach as a sign of weakness. This was their second major mistake, right after letting Kruthax anywhere near caffeine. They think this is a game, Kruthax declared to his fleet, now fully detoxed from his 3-day coffee binge. He'd replaced all the coffee machines with regulation nutrient dispensers, though several crew members were caught trying to ferment space algae in their quarters. We will show them the true meaning of galactic power. He dubbed it Operation Humble because Operation Seriously Stop Making Us Look Silly was too long to fit on the official letterhead. The plan was simple, a show of force so impressive it would make humanity realize their insignificance. Kruthax had his entire fleet transform into what he called the Great Wall of Nope, a massive barrier of ships stretching across the solar system. The humans responded by posting a 1-star review of the wall on something called Yelp. Decent concept, poor execution, no snack bars, terrible parking, would not recommend for weekend family outings. What is this mockery? Kruthax's exoskeleton was practically steaming. That's when Earth's official response came through. Initiating protocol. Hold my beer. What's a beer? Asked Kruthax's new AI. The previous one had accidentally connected to something called Twitter and had to be mercy killed. Before anyone could answer, every screen in the fleet suddenly started playing something that would haunt them forever. Cat videos. But not just any cat videos. These were weaponized cat videos, scientifically engineered for maximum emotional impact. Sir, a communications officer called out, their tentacles trembling. It's spreading through the quantum network. The hive mind of Beetlejuice is posting reaction videos. The cats were just the beginning. Suddenly, the entire galactic information network was flooded with what humans called memes. The Quantum Collective encountered something called Doge and spent 3 cycles trying to calculate the proper mathematical equation for much wow. Kruthax watched in horror as his mighty fleet succumbed to the assault. The warrior race Kurzak, known for their stoic demeanor, were caught sending each other something called wholesome memes. The cybernetic Nexus Collective had changed all their avatars to Grumpy Cat. Status report, Kruthax demanded. Sir, his second-in-command replied, trying to hide a video titled Top 10 Cutest Puppy Moments. We've lost control of the fleet's entertainment systems. Something called Rick Astley has taken over all frequencies. Then shut down the networks. We can't, sir. The crew, they're making their own memes now. Look. To his horror, Kruthax saw his own image spreading across the fleet's networks, his coffee-induced poetry reading now set to something called auto-tune, with the caption, Felt cute, might contain humanity later, IDK. In desperation, Kruthax opened a channel to Earth. "Stop this at once." Dr. Chen appeared on screen looking unfairly calm. "Oh, you've seen the memes? Don't worry, they're just getting started. Wait until you see what happens when we introduce your species to something called YouTube challenges. You can't do this. We are a mighty fleet. A mighty fleet that's currently attempting to recreate something called the Ice Bucket Challenge in zero gravity," Dr. Chen pointed out. Indeed, several ships were now covered in frozen water spheres. The final blow came when Blip-Blop, who had somehow gained access to the fleet's communication system, began broadcasting fun human facts to every ship. "Did you know humans invented something called dad jokes? Here's one. Why don't eggs tell jokes? Because they'd crack up." Kruthax watched as his mighty fleet, the pride of the Galactic Council, dissolved into fits of laughter, or their species equivalent of laughter. The gaseous collective's mirth was particularly hazardous to ship interiors. "Sir," his second-in-command reported, trying to maintain dignity while wearing something called a cat-ear headband, "the Quantum Collective has started something called a TikTok dance challenge. 3 more dimensions have collapsed due to excessive cringe." Kruthax slumped in his command chair, surrounded by the ruins of his dignity. On every screen, cats knocked objects off tables in slow motion. Ancient videos declared that all your base are belong to us, and something called Baby Shark played on endless loop. "Fine," he whispered, defeated. "We surrender." "Oh, we haven't even gotten to the really good stuff yet," Dr. Chen replied cheerfully. "Wait until you discover what humans call puns." The entire fleet collectively shuddered, and somewhere in the depths of space, Blip-Blop was already preparing a presentation on human knock-knock jokes. The thing about humanity's true power wasn't that they controlled the galaxy's weapons, or its economies, or even its precious coffee supply. No, humans had done something far more insidious. They had created, maintained, and thoroughly dominated the galaxy's social media platforms. The revelation came during an emergency session of the Galactic Council, where Zixithar was trying to explain why Operation Humble had turned into Operation Complete Embarrassment. "It's not my fault," he insisted, his exoskeleton now decorated with stress-induced fractal patterns. "How was I supposed to know they controlled Spacebook?" "And Galactic Gram," added a trembling aide. "And Quasar Chat," chimed in another, and Blip-Blop wiggled excitedly. "One universe, although that one's mostly just pictures of everyone's pets and lunch." The council chamber erupted into chaos as the implications sank in. Humans hadn't just created these platforms, they had been archiving everything. "We have received a transmission from Earth," announced the council's AI, which was now sporting a profile picture of a cat wearing sunglasses. "They wish to share some highlights from their collection." Before anyone could object, the chamber's holographic displays came to life. What followed would go down in galactic history as the Great Tea Spilling, though several species were still confused about what tea had to do with embarrassing revelations. First came the Krelthor footage. The feared warrior race, known throughout the galaxy for their brutal combat prowess and intimidating battle cries, were exposed in their most private moments. Security footage showed their mighty warship's cargo holds filled not with weapons but with stuffed animals. Thousands upon thousands of cute, cuddly plushies. They're so soft," sobbed a Krelthor warrior in one clip, hugging a stuffed unicorn. The mighty supreme warlord of the Krelthor was revealed to have a special room in his fortress, dedicated to having tea parties with his favorite plushies, all of them wearing tiny, custom-made battle armor. But that was just the beginning. "Oh no," whispered Zixthar as he recognized the next video's thumbnail. "They wouldn't dare." They would. The footage of Zixithar's private karaoke sessions began playing across every screen in the galaxy. There he was, all 4 arms wielding different instruments, performing what he thought was a perfect rendition of "I Will Survive" in his native click language. The translation subtitles only made it worse. "I particularly enjoy the part where you try to hit the high notes," Dr. Chen commented from Earth's delegation pod. "Who knew mandibles could produce such interesting harmonics?" The revelations kept coming. The Quantum Collective's embarrassing phase where they tried to exist in just 2 dimensions because they thought it made them look thinner. The Silicon Consciousness's secret collection of organic life pickup lines. "Hey baby, are you a carbon-based life form? Because you've got me feeling unstable in all the right ways." "Did you know," Blip-Blop announced to the horrified council, "that humans have been running a show called Galaxy's Funniest Home Videos for the past 3 centuries? We're all stars." The evidence was undeniable. Every species' most embarrassing moments, their guilty pleasures, their failed attempt at trends, all of it had been meticulously catalogued by humanity's vast social media empire. But why? Demanded Zixathar, trying to hide behind his ceremonial robes as his karaoke compilation reached its infamous Bohemian Rhapsody segment. Because it's hilarious, Dr. Chen suggested. Also, have you seen your subscription numbers? The Zixathar karaoke channel has over 1 trillion followers. You're technically a galactic influencer. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of Zixathar softly clicking, "Mama, just killed a man," in the background. We've also been running all the sponsored content, Dr. Chen continued cheerfully. Why did you think everyone suddenly started buying those anti-gravity yoga pants last season? Or those quantum-filtered selfie drones? The implications were staggering. Humans hadn't just infiltrated galactic society, they had shaped it, one viral post at a time. But here's the real kicker, Dr. Chen added, pulling up one final presentation. We've been running the galaxy's most successful dating app. The horror in the chamber was palpable. Swipestar, whispered someone in disbelief. Humans run Swipestar. Why do you think the algorithm works so well? Dr. Chen winked. We've been matchmaking species across the galaxy for centuries. We literally wrote the code of love. The display showed countless successful matches, silicon beings finding their perfect crystalline partners, energy creatures forming stable quantum entanglements, even a heartwarming story about a gaseous collective member finding love with a plasma-based entity. 3 out of 5 council members met their mates on Swipestar, Dr. Chen revealed, including you, Zixathar. Remember that cute profile pic with your mandibles posed just so? Zixathar made a sound that suggested his internal organs were trying to escape through his exoskeleton. In fact, Dr. Chen continued, pulling up more data, humanity has been responsible for a 47% increase in intergalactic marriages, a 89% rise in cross-species cultural exchange programs, and a 1,000% increase in cute pet photos being shared across the galaxy. The council members looked at each other in dawning comprehension. Humanity hadn't needed weapons or armies or even coffee, though that had certainly helped. They had conquered the galaxy in the most insidious way possible, by making everyone like each other. We have one final announcement, Dr. Chen said, her smile somehow both warm and terrifying. We're launching a new platform next week. We call it Galactic Talk. The entire council collectively gasped. The beta test starts tomorrow, she continued. Blip-Blop has kindly agreed to be our first content creator. They've prepared a series of fun facts about every species videos, complete with dancing. As if on cue, Blip-Blop began demonstrating their signature dance move, which involved vigorous jiggling and surprisingly good rhythm. Would anyone else like to sign up for early access? Dr. Chen asked innocently. Every appendage in the room shot up, even as their owners tried to pretend they weren't interested. The conquest of the galaxy was complete, and it had been achieved not with weapons or threats, but with likes, shares, and extremely embarrassing archived footage. Humanity's greatest weapon, it turned out, had been the friends they made along the way, and the blackmail material they collected in the process. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had devolved into what humans would call a complete dumpster fire, which, coincidentally, was trending on Spacebook along with #Zixathar Karaoke World and #Krelthor Plushie Army. Order, I demand. Zixathar paused his gavel banging as he noticed his latest video had just gone viral. Someone had remixed his karaoke performance with something called auto-tune and added a sick beat. It was embarrassingly kind of catchy. Did you know, Blip-Blop announced to their rapidly growing follower count on Galactic Talk, that humans have a saying, the internet is forever. They've been archiving our most memorable moments for centuries. Isn't that fascinating? Like and follow for more fun human facts. The Council's attempts to maintain dignity were failing spectacularly. The Quantum Collective had given up trying to exist in proper dimensions and was now just vibing. The Silicon Consciousness was busy creating reaction crystals to all their newly discovered archived moments. Even the gaseous collective had condensed into what appeared to be a facepalm configuration. We must respond to this. Zixathar struggled to find the right word. Epic trolling, suggested Dr. Chen helpfully. Yes, this epic. Wait, what's trolling? Oh, like that time we convinced the Draconians that Earth's dominant species was actually cats and humans were just their servants. They spent 50 years trying to negotiate trade deals with Mr. Whiskers. The chamber erupted in gasps as centuries of mysterious events suddenly made sense. That time the Quantum Collective found their entire database replaced with "all your base are belong to us." Us. The mysterious appearance of Duckface in ancient silicon artwork. Also us. The great rickroll of the Andromeda Congress. That one was actually an intern's mistake, but we rolled with it, pun intended. Blip-Blop, who had somehow accumulated millions of followers in the past hour, was bouncing with unprecedented enthusiasm. I'm starting a human appreciation society. We meet every Earth Thursday to study human memes and practice their sacred art of shitposting. The sign-up sheet immediately crashed the quantum network. Zixathar, watching his carefully maintained galactic order dissolve into chaos, did the only thing he could. He joined Blip-Blop's fan club. If you can't beat them, he clicked dejectedly. Follow them on social media. The final treaty was drafted, printed and posted on One Universe with the hashtag #HumansBeHumaning. Its official title was The Declaration of "Yeah, just let them do their thing, it's easier that way." The document formally recognized humanity's status as too dangerous to antagonize. Seriously, have you seen what they do with cat pictures? Key provisions included: all species must maintain at least one social media account. Sharing embarrassing content requires using the proper hashtags. No complaining about humans, chaos, energy. Coffee to be classified as a controlled substance, available only with proper barista certification. Mandatory appreciation of dad jokes. Weekly meme quotas for all member species. The signing ceremony was live-streamed across all platforms. Krithax attended remotely, as he was too busy building his new career as a coffee review influencer. This dark roast has notes of quantum uncertainty and existential crisis. 5 stars. As the council members added their signatures and appropriate emoji reactions, Dr. Chen smiled at her datapad. Earth's Department of Galactic Entertainment had just approved her proposal for a new reality show, Keeping Up with the Krelthor. The pilot episode would feature the Supreme Warlord's stuffed animal collection getting a makeover. Blip-Blop, now sporting a custom "Humans Are My Jam" t-shirt and various Earth pop culture pins, had become the galaxy's leading human culture expert. Their Reacting to Human History series was breaking all viewing records, especially the episode about something called disco. And so peace returned to the galaxy, albeit a peace liberally sprinkled with memes, viral videos, and the occasional intergalactic trend. The humans had won, not through force or fear, but through the most powerful weapons in their arsenal, the ability to make the entire galaxy laugh at itself, and the wisdom to save the receipts. As Blip-Blop would say in their next viral video, "Did you know humans have a saying? Pics or it didn't happen, and boy did they make sure everything happened."